Hey everybody, what's going on? The Montreal Canadiens are in full summer mode right now, and there's plenty to dive into in this video. We're going to start out with a little top 5 projected mock draft for the 2024 NHL Draft. But before we get into that, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. It's as easy as clicking in the bottom right-hand corner of this video. Now, the Montreal Canadiens will have the 5th overall pick in the 2024 draft, and there's plenty of speculation about where they might go with that selection. But before we can really determine how the Habs will approach that pick, we have to look at the potential teams in front of them and what they could do with their respective selections. The first overall pick going to the San Jose Sharks. This one's a no-brainer. Macklin Celebrini will be the new face of the San Jose Sharks and make a nice combination with Will Smith down the middle of the ice, depending on if both stick as centers in the NHL. But this is a great 1-2 punch, and the Sharks are slowly but surely in stage one of their rebuild, and they're going to start showing the benefits of that down the line. The second overall pick belongs to the Chicago Blackhawks, and here's where things get really interesting. The Blackhawks have two choices with this pick in my eyes. They can go with Ivan Demidov, or they can go with Artem Levashinov, the defenseman out of Michigan State. There's plenty of value in either of these two selections, but if you had to go with a little safer player that you've seen more over the last two seasons, you're probably going to go with a defenseman out of Michigan State, but they could also go Demidov if they see him as a potential player to play with Connor Bedard down the line. That type of 1-2 punch doesn't grow on trees, so I think that there's potential going either way, but we'll stick to the defenseman with this draft right now and potentially change that down the line as we get more information ahead of the 2024 draft. The third overall pick, this is where things get a little dicey because it looks as though the Anaheim Ducks will head in the direction of a defenseman, but we're not really sure how they're going to do that because there's multiple players available that could interest them. If you're looking at the Ducks right now, I would say that they would likely lean towards Anton Silyev, the Russian defenseman, and I think there's value in that. He's the type of player that just doesn't grow on trees, and he's someone that can really be an anchor for your defense, and that doesn't really, if you look at their prospect pool right now, there aren't really many players that can really look to the potential that Silyev has on the back end. And I think that as we get closer, you're going to see the buzz for him ramp up because his size and his skill, although it might not be a plus skill, he still does have skill in the tag. I think there's going to be a lot of teams that see value in him being a big shutdown defenseman in the NHL. And then the fourth overall pick belongs to the Columbus Blue Jackets. And I think the Columbus Blue Jackets in an equal world will likely lean on a defenseman. It depends on which ones go in the top three, but there's potential that they continue to look at defensemen here and go with Sam Dickinson out of the OHL of the London Knights. I think that Corey Pronman of the Athletic has been hinting at this, that they might lean in that direction, but it's still a little too early to say for certain. So I think there's going to be some potential there that Dickinson goes, but they could also go with Demidov as well if he's on the board because they do have a Russian contingent in Columbus. So I think that there's some interesting possibilities here, and we're kind of getting to the point where you're going to start hearing more and more as the draft process ramps up, especially with the combine coming up. That's when you're going to start seeing more and more information leak out about where this could potentially go. And then you have the fifth overall pick, which belongs to the Montreal Canadiens. If you have all of these names off the board at this point in time, you're likely looking at one of Demidov, Caden Lindstrom, Aginla, Seneca. There's a lot of different options for the Montreal Canadiens here, and it appears as though they're going to take a forward depending on what happens in front of them. And if all those names are on the board, Demidov would be the selection for the Montreal Canadiens. I have no doubt about that. But if he is off the board at that time, I think they would likely lean with Lindstrom, even with the potential back concerns of this player. I just think there's too much upside. And with how the Canadiens are building their current roster, Lindstrom provides that upside that they're looking for down the middle and potentially as a playoff performer as well. That's it for me today from Cook's Corner. As always, let me know in the comment section down below how you think the top five will play out in the 2024 NHL Draft and who you think the Montreal Canadiens will select. I'm Zach Cook. We'll see you later.